Is this the end for CNN, the beginning of the end? The network is certainly having major stumbles. Ratings are down in April year over year, huge, and now pink slips and layoffs are coming. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Listen, gentlemen, huge bad news for Clinton News Network, Cable News Network. They're planning to cut up to 300 jobs, many being older employees with years at the network, according to a report on Monday. Word is that just under 200 people will be pink slipped and just over 100 will be offered a buyout. And again, these are some senior positions, including the head of CNN International, which is their overseas version of the network that used to, at any rate, get big ratings. And this is all on the heels of news from ratings news. Their primetime ratings dropped a whopping 26% in April compared to April of last year. That's according to Nielsen, who is the ratings company god. And this all seemed to really start getting the snowball effect after years of smaller declines. After the Mueller report came out and CNN, the impeachment hype machine of the Democrat media complex, suddenly has just apparently lost huge credibility with their own core left-wing viewers. Scott, layoffs aren't going to turn this around. They need the ratings. What, if you were in charge of CNN for the day, would you do?
Well, they've got a couple of choices. I mean, Fox News and MSNBC have taken distinctive paths. And for whatever you think of the politics of either one, you can make some sense of their business strategy. They basically said, we are going to find our audience. We're going to make it clear who we are and what we're about. And we're going to carve out a distinctive niche so that people who want this, it's kind of a Seth Godin, the marketing genius, always uses this phrase where he says, people like us watch things like this. People like us do things like this. And so people who like to watch Fox News are not the MSNBC audience. Neither is the MSNBC audience the Fox News audience. But I find myself when I'm occasionally in a room where someone else is watching TV and they stop momentarily on CNN, CNN just strikes me as bland, as generic, as just like they don't know who they are. They don't have the conviction to present a really credible news operation with honest journalism and the hard work that it takes to do good reporting. They don't really have the moxie to, be the leg network that Fox News is, where you have, transparent desks so that everybody can always see the legs of the female reporters. They don't have the passion in their craw to be, the MSNBC raving lunatic network. They're nothing. And as a consequence, the audience for nothing is no one. And that's just going to continue to fade away. So, I mean, my dream world, frankly, I think what Ted Turner created there is a beautiful thing and had a great opportunity to do something that really hadn't been done in years. And that was to create a legitimate, reliable, always-on news network where you could go because you knew that when you tuned in there, you were going to get the truth and not a bunch of just mindless chatter and celebrity news and things like that. They really had the opportunity to be sort of in the pantheon of journalism greats, which is comprised mostly of people who are dead now. But they could have been a contender. They could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what they are.
I started watching CNN in high school.
Played.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to say, well played, beautifully played.
Oh,
Scott.
it really was. I started watching them in high school in the mid-'80s, and I loved what was the debate show with Pat Buchanan and Mike Kinsley? There was always...
Crossfire?
Crossfire, thank you, back before they killed that brand. And it became indispensable during the first Gulf War, because here is this network news that was literally on all the time, because events were happening on the other side of the world, 12 hours ahead of us, and the NBC Nightly News just couldn't do what CNN did. And then they spent the 90s boosting the Clintons. All right, I can take that. You're left wing. They became indispensable again, I think, during the Iraq War in 2003 because of the exact same reasons as in 1991. And they really have pissed away that reputation for just reporting the news. Bill, let me give you some examples of what CNN's new brand is. And I hate to disagree with our friend Scott here, but I don't think they're bland. I think they're lunatics. I had to go back all the way to last Sunday to find these examples, and most of these are just from the last couple of days. And if you just search, you can find so many more examples of these. Here we go. Anderson Cooper denies he's on the left, then rips Trump for tweeting about Kentucky Derby. CNN panel discusses whether Trump will accept election defeat in 2020, ignores Hillary Clinton and Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams, of course, still denying that she lost the governor's race in Georgia back in November. CNN interviews author of debunked population doomsday book. That's Paul Ehrlich, who's been debunked for about as long as I've been alive. CNN wrote over 20 articles on Covington Catholic students, ignores Philly Muslim children chanting about chopping off people's heads. And last one, collusion. This is the name of a drink featured on CNN's post-White House Correspondents' Dinner brunch bar menu, and that's bar with 2 R's. Bill, can you recover from that level of lunacy as a business? Can you turn it around without just completely clearing out all of your on-air talent?
No.
So what do you do?
No. They somehow over the years they got the impression that they were in the news business, but that's not the business they were in. They were in the credibility business, and one hit on your credibility does permanent damage to your credibility. And if you don't go out and aggressively deconstruct what happened to regain that credibility, it's just a long slide into obscurity. You and I and Scott have been more or less covering the news for 10, 11 years now. So I think I can say because obviously don't have the ratings that CNN does, but neither does CNN.
It's getting closer every day.
But I think I can say, speaking for myself, I don't know about you guys, but speaking as myself to the professional journalists, who are in danger of losing their jobs at CNN, I would just like to say, learn to code. And also you might want to take up learning to code, which is a mortal insult among these so-called journalists who are they're just shocked that someone could have the callousness to reduce somebody of their caliber to just another online hack. When in point of fact, what I'm really saying when I tell CNN journalists to learn to code is becoming just another online hack will be a significant step up for all of you. And there you go. But no, you can't recover from this. And what's more important is that not only is it virtually impossible to recover from it in terms of the actual steps it would take to recover credibility, the reason they can't recover from it is because there's just simply no way that they can psychologically admit that everything they believe is nonsense, wrong. I had a chance to do a little speaking event over the weekend, and I followed Brent Bozell from the Media Research Center, and he had the latest numbers on CNN's audience. I think their primetime beefiest audience is like 750,000 people or something. And he had a number of hilarious examples of what that compares to. And the only one I can really remember, only 2 I can really remember, is that twice as many people in the country identified themselves as witches on a census report than watch CNN. I think it's like, and he also said, as a matter of fact, when you get right down to it in the police reports, there are more whores in the country than there are people who watch CNN. And I said to myself, are you counting the CNN staff in this calculation? I mean, which side of the equation are they on? Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of guys. And this is and just to wrap this up, this is why every day I become more convinced that the culture war is over and that we win, because the philosophy of progressivism is so fundamentally rooted. In fact, it's predicated on the emotional desire to be able to have things the way you want them at all times. And that means you have to negate reality. And that means if you say, we did a segment on Bill Now on, we did, I don't remember which one it was on it was on this show, on Castor
Semenya, yeah.
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 From South Africa.
Whichever one it was. Look, so so you have to start believing that a person who has X and Y chromosomes, 4 or 5 times the level of female testosterone, is a woman and should be allowed to run in the Olympics and beat everybody else by 2 seconds. You have to believe this, because if you don't believe that, then you're saying that there's an external reality that trumps feelings, and you can't have that. And so since this whole thing is predicated on the belief that if you want something or believe something importantly enough, or if your victimhood status is high enough, then you are just correct. And you can't run a news organization on this. You can't really run a kindergarten on this. But they have. It's doomed, and the whole movement is doomed.
We can certainly hope so. And if not, well, we're certainly enjoying watching them suffer right now, or at least I am. A little schadenfreude goes wonderfully with this episode. Bill and Scott said everything I possibly could have wanted to say in my conclusions. I'll just add this. It might seem a little off topic at first, but it came out 2-3 years ago, and I thought Rogue One was easily the best Star Wars movie since the original trilogy.
Absolutely agree.
Just a lot of fun. The last act was the best Star Wars action probably since the big Hoth ice planet battle of Empire Strikes Back. Characters that actually did give their all. It had a lot going for it, but one part of the movie kept ripping me out back into the real world, and the producers, I think, had a real conundrum with this decision. But every time Darth Vader spoke, you could hear the age in James Earl Jones's voice, that thickening of our voices that just happens as we get up there in years, really revealed that this was not happening in the days before Princess Leia stole those Death Star plans. That James Earl Jones, a lot of years had passed. But, if you're a producer and you've got the money and James Earl Jones is available, then who the hell else are you going to hire to play the voice of Darth Vader? It's got to be James Earl Jones. That said, I would like Mr. Jones to hang on and rest up and get those vocal cords back in the best shape possible so that one day, maybe soon, he can record "This was CNN." That's your right angle on that. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, please click on over, become a member. You can be one of the producers of content just like this, and we would love to have you on board. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.